Hello everyone, welcome back to channel again. This is Cloud Institution, the best cloud training institution in Bangalore. So today we're going to start with a new Linux series on AWS. Okay, so what are we going to do is that we're going to practice all the commands, with the complete Linux administration on AWS. Okay, so welcome back to our series. So Linux beginner series for on AWS. Okay, so first of all, we are going to start with Linux file system hierarchy. Okay, so what is Linux file system hierarchy? If you're really new to Linux, so you should be starting with Linux file system hierarchy with the very basics. Okay, so how the Linux file system hierarchy will work. Okay, so if you can go for the file system hierarchy, so all the commands will start with a root. So if you want to explain in in the whiteboard, for example, so if this is the file system, okay, so if this is the Linux, so this is just like a tree. Okay, so it has everything will start with root. For example, I'm just writing all these things. So I'm not writing everything, but I'm going to write almost like this kind of a files. Okay, so this is the root directory. Okay, we called it as a uh, slash root. Okay, slash is called as a root of all file systems. Okay, so all the directories will be comes under this slash root. Okay, so this is called slash, means is a root. Okay, it's a root directory. So all the directories comes under this root directory. Okay, so this is the kind of the root file system, and then all the system will be having hierarchy of like this. Okay, so we can name it like different ways, right? So as you can see here in the PPT, so there are many files or there inside that. Okay, so I'm going to show you in a minute. So for now, if you can see here, it's called bin. Okay, so sbin slash where opt um, slash tmp etc. Okay, something like this, right? So we have a lot of files and folders like this, so cdc boot. So there are a lot of file systems are there. So how this work is that, so I'm not going to write everything, but so how it work is that everything will comes from a root. Okay, so we're going to see in the real time. Okay, so how it's going to work and how it's working in real time. So if we let's go back to our AWS console. So let's connect to the console now. Okay, I'm just connecting to EC2 console. So if you have your own Linux machine also, you can connect it. So this is something like, so we are going to do it on AWS, so that if you're practicing on AWS, if you have AWS account, it'll be very useful for you. All right, so now the system is connecting. I'm going to show you that how the Linux file system hierarchy will be having. So now I'm going to give slash cd slash. Okay, so what is means that I'm going inside this slash directory. Okay, so every time whenever you're logging into it, you should be knowing that slash is for a root directory. Okay, so if you can give ls. Okay, so this is the file system hierarchy will be there. Okay, so you can see bin, boot, dev, etc, home, all these files are there. We're going to see each and everything, what is the purpose of each and every directories. Okay, so now as you can see here, I'm just writing some of the things: bin, sbin, where, opt, temp, etc. So we're going to see what are the different files are um, required. Okay, so now first of all, let's go with bin. Okay, so I think we'll start with the bin. So essential ready to run programs binaries, including the most basics commands such as say ls and cp. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so first of all, let's go to bin. Okay, slash bin. Okay, so bin, if you can see, all the binaries will be there. Okay, so there's a difference between bin and sbin. We can see that later. So all the basic commands, for example, if you can give cd, okay, or ls command. Okay, so if you can see that which ls, you can see that no user bin ls. But if you can see which cd, okay, so is user bin cd is there. So we also have the command called, the cp is there inside this bin. Okay, some of the commands will be there in user bin ls, but almost all the commands, for example, let's go with cp command. Okay, so which cp? Okay, so it's having a user bin cp, right? So it's also having is available in slash bin as well. So for example, if you can run slash bin cp, so uh, okay, okay, so cp. Okay, CP, so missile, okay, CP command is found, but in bin directory, but so we need to give some kind of a CP folders. Okay, for example, okay, I can give CP here. Okay, so this folder, this file to temp. We can see this one will work. Okay, so now, so all the basic commands, whatever it is there here, it should work. Okay, so even ls. Okay, so ls you can also do like you can give ls like this, it should work. And also what you can do is you can just give, okay, if I'm going back here, slash bin slash ls. Okay, this also will work. Okay, for example, if you can go to temp, and if you can give slash bin slash ls, it should work from, because this particular command is being located inside this bin directory. I hope this is, you understand this one, right? All the basic commands, all the commands, whatever it is there. Okay, so all the commands, whatever it is working in your Linux machine with the basics of this, and you can just see under this bin directory. Okay, so I hope you know that what is bin directory. Bin directory is something like, so it's kind of it contains binary files. Okay, so it contains the binary files of your Linux commands. Okay, let's go back to the system again. Okay, so let's next is boot. Container kernel boot loader files. Okay, so what is slash boot? Now you can give slash. Okay, so if you can go inside boot. Okay, so what happens is that all the booting related information will be available over here. Okay, VM Linux is a kernel. Okay, so these are all related to the the booting, so the system booting files and folders. Okay, so whatever the files and folders is required for the system to boot, all the files will be available inside this boot directory. So you can see here, this is a VM Linux is the file. uh, VM Linux is the kernel files. Okay, so now grub. Okay, so grub is also kind of a folder. So it's a bootloader. Okay, so as a so permission, as a normal user I cannot go inside. So what I do is I can go to sudo su hyphen and I can give slash boot. Okay, so I go to grub. Okay, so grub2 is a grand unified bootloader is what we call this. Okay, so these are all the files and folders that can be used during a system when booting. Okay, so you should be understanding this. Okay, next let's go back to the um, next command is dev. Okay, so let's go back and see the dev. Okay, so device files. Okay, so it has a device files. So let's go for here slash dev. Okay, it has all the device files over here. Okay, so how do you find these device files? Okay, so we have already seen this device files in the previous session, that what is device files. For example, we have mounted, okay, because it is a AWS Linux system. Okay, we have mounted one EBS volume here. Okay, so how do you find all the Linux EBS volume? Okay, so if we can go to lsblk. Okay, you can see that the XVDA is the block device. So is the EBS volume has been mounted in this server. Okay, so how do you find this server? Where it has been located? Where it has been stored? Which means that you can go to cd. I mean ls. You can give ls slash dev and slash xvda. Okay, xvda. Okay, so this device is located under this directory. Okay, so in Linux, if you're mounting or any devices, or if any kind of devices are available, okay, all the devices will be available in the slash dev. Okay, there's a loop devices and the tty devices. There are a lot of devices will be there. Okay, so just make sure that all the, for example, now all the devices, whatever you are so you're specifying that those devices are available inside this directory, so slash dev directory. Okay, so now let's go back to the next directory. Okay, etc. So etc is having the all collection of system directories. Okay, if you can go back to the ppt, you can see etc, so system configuration directory. Okay, for example, I'm going to show you some kind of examples like here. Okay, so for example, now if you go to etc/etc, okay, so etc we have a lot of all system configuration. For example, if you want to change some kind of SSH configuration, okay, so for example, which folder we have to go and change the configuration of the files, okay, /etc. Okay, now we are already in etc, right? Like sshd okay, so you can see here SSH, the SSH configuration, all the SSH configuration will be available over here. So in the last previous videos, we have just seen that how to change the SSH port number, right? So if you want to change the port number of the SSH configuration, we can go here and we can give SSH underscore config. So you can just see the port number, you can see the 22 port number and all these things. You can just change it over here. Okay, this is the default port numbers. So all the configurations, whatever it has been there, it will be installed. It will be available over here. For example, again, I'm going to give you another example for what is ECT. Okay, so now I'm going to give HTTP. Okay, so HTTP is not there. Okay, what is HTTP? Which means this Apache. Okay, so now we can see ls HTTPD is not there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install HTTPD, HTTPD-y. So what happens is that whenever I'm just installing the HTTPD configuration, HTTPD files, all the configuration files will be available inside this. It will be stored inside this /etc. For example, you can give ls. Now, if you can give the same command, okay, say ls HTTPD. See, look, now the command has been exist because we have installed the HTTPD server. Okay, now what I do is I just go and remove HTTPD-y. Okay, it's going to be removing HTTPD. Okay, now if you can see the same folder, this does not exist. So what happens here is that the real quick is that, so whenever you're installing some packages, all the configuration files and folders will be stored inside the /etc folder. Okay, so this is what is the configuration files folders. Okay, hope you understand this one. Well, okay, let's go back to the next command. Next folder, okay, is kind of a home. Okay, so what is home? Okay, so let's go back to /home. Okay, so /home will be having all the user related, so it is a home for all the users. Okay, so if you're creating any kind of new user, all the home user related files will be available over here. Okay, so if you so we already have a EC2 user because we are logging with EC2 user, because we already have a EC2 users home directory. We have all the files over here. Okay, let's go to each/etc user. So nothing is there. Okay, so now, like, so for example, if you create an add user, okay, so I'm going back to home. You can see, so there is only one user is there. I'm going to add user called cloud institution. Okay, so now if you can give ls, you can see there is a one more folder is got created as part of this cloud institution. Okay, so you can see cloud institution. Okay, it will be all the, whenever you're logging in, all the files and folders related this particular this thing particular particular user information will be stored over here. Okay, so hope you understand this. What is home? This home is nothing but the home for your users. Okay, so user accounts. Okay, so this is what you should be remembering. All right, so now let's go back to the cd/ls. Okay, so now lib. So lib, what is lib? Lib is kind of a libraries. Okay, so you can see here it has a holds a so library files that binder can use. Okay, so cd lib is a lib libraries. You can see all the libraries that has been used by the Linux system. The system has been stored over here. Okay, so all the binaries, whatever the binaries, sorry, what or all the libraries. Okay, so all the libraries, whatever has been used by the system, it can be used, it can be available over here. Okay, so what is lib64 again? So lib64, okay, I'm going back and I'm going here, lib64. So lib64, so the lib64 is again, this is a library, but it is having a 64-bit libraries. Okay, so now if you go for a lib, it's going to be 32-bit libraries, and in the lib64 is going to be all the files and folders related to 64-bit libraries. Okay, all the libraries that is being used by your system can be available over here. Okay, so whenever you're installing some packages, all the libraries, so all the configuration files will be stored in /etc. All the libraries will be stored in lib64. Okay, so this is what something you should be remembering. Okay, now okay, now let's go back to the next one. Okay, so next one is going to be a a local file system. Okay, so slash local. Okay, let's go back to slash local. Okay, so slash local is nothing but so if you have any kind of any kind of local files needs to be stored, it can be stored over here. Okay, it's not primarily used in anywhere. Okay, so but if you have any kind of local files needs to be stored over here, that can be stored. Okay, so next, let's go back to media. Okay, so if you wanted to mount any kind of a media files, okay, so that's media. If you want to mount any media files or something like that, so you can be use as alternative point for removable media like USB devices. Okay, so if you want to mount any media devices or something like that, you can be mount over here. Okay, so uh, now let's go back to MNT. What is MNT? Okay, let's go back to slash MNT. MNT. Okay, so this is the default mounting directory. Okay, this is for media. Okay, so all the media will be there. This kind of mounting directory. So if you are mounting any kind of a devices, by default those devices will be, for example, if you are mounting some USB to this Linux machine, so that particular USB device will be mounting by default over here. Okay, so in the slash memnt. So right now we don't have any kind of a mounting directories over here. So I'm just there's that thing has been showing over here. Okay, so now let's go back to the next slide. Okay, slash mnt is the temporary mounting file system. Is what we discussed. Okay, so optional application file software is the OPT. Okay, so it's kind of a slash OPT is going to be optional file packages. So as you can see here, there is one AWS has been installed. Okay, so the AWS, so because it is Amazon Linux machine, Amazon Linux image, so AWS Linux, right? So because of this one, so AWS has already installed some kind of packages for this machine. Okay, some kind of packages they have installed for their own purpose. Okay, so these kind of things will be installed in slash opt. So opt is a optional packages that needs to be installed for your application. All right, so now let's go back to slash proc. Slash proc. Slash proc is a slash proc contains information about the currently running process. Okay, so we are seeing that this many processes are running. So for each and every process, we have created a slash proc directory. Okay, so if you can see the, I mean, there is one really interesting interview questions would be maybe asked that what is the file size of slash proc directory? Okay, so if you can see just du-sh, okay, everything is 0. Okay, so this this particular file system, even though this is the folders are there here, okay, it has a zero uh, it has a zero disk space. Okay, so this is a proc. So now you understand like what is proc. Proc is something like the so the files for the process that is running. Okay, for example, information about the currently running process. So it gives all the information. Okay, if you can give ps-ef, there are so many processes will be running. Okay, so let's say for example 1 and 3 or 2, something like that, right? So all the process whatever it is running over here, they have this information inside this one. Okay, so now that is all about slash proc. Okay, slash root. Okay, slash root is the root file system home folder. Okay, slash if you can go to slash root is the home folder for so the root file system for a home folder for a root directory. I mean root user. Okay, so the root user's home directory. Okay, so for example slash home. Okay, if you can see slash home is the home directory for other users, but slash root is the home directory for the root user. You should be understanding that. Okay, so all the root information, root user related information can be stored over here. Okay, now let's go back to the next command, which is which directory, which is slash sbin. Okay, sorry, slash sbin. Okay, so here it is slash sbin. So uh, so slash sbin is something like it has all the commands and all the commands and folders which is having administrative commands. Okay, so what is the difference between bin? Okay, so we have two commands. Okay, so slash, if you can give slash, there is a bin and sbin will be there. Okay, so bin and sbin both are serving a both the commands. Okay, So now you can see here, so this sbin will be having the administrative commands. Okay, if you can see here, all the commands like something like if config or all these kind of administrative commands, lsblk, all these kind of commands, so instat, IP password and lspci, okay, all these commands will be available. Okay, mkfs. So mkfs is a kind of a command which is, which is used to create a file system. Okay, mkfs. So all these kind of administrative commands will be saved under this root file system. I mean, under this sbin. Okay. Now srv. So this are all is not been highly used. Okay, site specific data which are served by the system. Okay, these are all not very much used. Okay, you don't need to worry much about that site specific data. Okay, so some kind of a domain system or some kind of site specific system that can be stored away, but it's not highly used by anywhere. Okay, so SYS is again like system related information can be stored. Okay, so like so it can so bus cache dev FS file systems and kernel. So all these kind of the system related information will be stored in this one. But this also not highly been asked the interview question. What is SYS? All this stuff. Okay, this is all system information like in what is hypervisors. So what hypervisors folders is there. Okay, so what type of hypervisor has been installed. All related to system information. Okay, system information will be stored over here. Okay. Now slash tmp is kind of a really interesting one. Okay, so all the temporary files and folders will be stored over here. Okay, if you go to slash tmp, as you can see here, so systemd private and all these kind of a temporary files which has been created by the system that has been stored in slash tmp. So the slash tmp, most of the times what we do is that so whenever we are rebooting it, most of the files from the slash tmp will be deleted. Okay, so the slash tmp is not a it's a temporary storage, so you can't expect the files and folders will be always be available. Okay, so that's called a slash tmp. Okay, let's go back to the slash user. Okay, so user directory contains the user files, programs and libraries. Okay, so for example, if you can see the user slash user. Okay, so there are different folders will be there. Okay, so user lib, user local, and user local is some of the place, so you some of your so normal so some of your I mean like normal users kind of commands will be stored over here. Okay, even though you have a bin, it has also have a user local bin, sbin, all this kind of a thing which is relevant to your local file systems. Okay, so yeah, so user local is something which is being highly used, for many of the commands will be stored over here. Okay, so that's what something user folder. Okay, so user folder is something like the directory that contains the user files and programs and libraries. It can also have so we can also have slash lib will be storing the file system and all these things, and user local lib is also can be another libraries. So that sbin also again user local sbin again is going to be a um, uh, that binary folder where it can be stored some kind of a so some kind of a some kind of a comments. Okay, but for now nothing is being stored over here. Okay, so it can be used. This is a file system hierarchy. This can be used by this computer if it's something is required for this. So now finally slash var. Okay, so var is the variable files. Okay, so var is the variable files. Okay, so as you can see here, what is variable files? Which means that some kind of a files that will be changed frequently. For example, almost like var log. Okay, so var log cd var cd log. Okay, sorry, log. Okay, so var log is kind of a system logging information. Okay, so okay, there are some kind of a there are many kind of a system logs will be there. Okay, so if you want to see any kind of a logs and last log and all these things, right? Tail -f, tail -f last log, something like that. You can just give all these logs will be shown. Okay, so for now, okay, I think it's got stuck. I'm going to restart it again. Okay, so I think I did something wrong maybe. So now if you can go to ls, so slash var is there, slash var there are a lot of logs files and all these things will be there. Okay, log locals and slash lib. So all these files are kind of a variable files. So, and one more important information is that I'm just going to give ls, where www. Okay, so there is no file called folder called www. So what, let's say for example, when you install like yum install yum install httpd. So okay, so I need to run as a sudo. Okay, so sudo yum install httpd. Sorry, sudo yum install httpd. Okay, so now if you can see here, then there is one folder will be created under this place where that is called ls www. Okay, so www.html, right? So this folder has been created because we have installed this package. Okay, so what do you mean by this one is all the variables, all the so all the all the so the system that files that can be varied, so from the user time to time. Okay, so like say for example, logs can be varied. Logs can be should be under the variable directory. Okay, so if you can see here, the variable directory that's used for the system logging and user tracking and caches and etc. So basically anything that is subject to change all the time. Okay, so now it can be changed all the time. Log can be changed all the time, and then HTML files will be changed all the time. All this kind of files will be stored in this var directory. Okay, so this is what kind of a this file system hierarchy. Okay, so as I mentioned with you previously. Okay, so this is the root is the main directory. All the other file system will be stored under this directory. Okay, so now I hope you understand this file system hierarchy, right? So we are going to see a lot of new things about this file system and everything. So I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Okay, please stay tuned for further sessions. If you have any inquiries about Linux cloud computing courses or anything, you can just reach out to me on this number. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and see you again in the next video.